I'm a survivor. I have survived many things that I shouldn't have. Many things. I survived a crazy accident with, of all things, an aluminum water wheel. No, like it just would. Yeah, I should have died then. Didn't. Put my hand through a plate glass window. Have a scar on my wrist to this day. Sliced my wrist right open, right here. Survived it. Got blood poisoning. Survived it. Got my face bitten by a dog on my 11th birthday. Tore a piece of my lip off. Survived it. Had a crazy mother who was an ex-old lady of the Hells Angels. Grew up living in KOAs and campgrounds and her car and migrant farm camps and this place and that place all over. I survived it. Went into the foster care system, which was actually one of the best things that ever happened to me. I had nothing but good outcomes with foster care. I was very lucky and very blessed with my foster care experience. I got to meet my dad. I got to live in Kansas City, Missouri. I got to go downtown and see a really fancy ballet, and I got to go ice skating at, I don't even know the name of the place, but it's like where the fancy people go shopping and stuff. And I got to work at an amusement park. I got to experience a lot of crazy things. But I survived growing up in a highly abusive household and abused sexually by too many names to count. Abused physically, mentally, emotionally, pretty much every way there was to abuse a girl. Hiya. Saw my mom get, yeah. Survived it. I survived my first serious, relationship, I guess you could say. It was the first sexual relationship, so I survived that. He was highly abusive. Could have killed me multiple times. Had his hands around my throat, choking me out. I've had a lot of medical scares, both pregnancies. I got very sick, almost died. Got a really bad infection a couple of years ago. Turned septic. Ended up with a hole in my body large enough for the doctor to put his hand where the main hole was, and then the infection as it was traveling up towards my organs. Should have died. There's been many a times I was sick growing up. I once had the measles and the mumps at the same time. I nearly died. I once had the worst case of pneumonia that every time I fell asleep, I thought for sure I was not going to wake up. My mom never even took me to the doctor. Should have died. Or nearly died, I guess. I shouldn't say shoulda. I should say coulda. That's the one. Near misses in car accidents, too many times to count. And I've survived it all. I think if you were to take an x-ray of my body, there'd be more cracks and fractures than most people know what to deal with. If you could actually see all the trauma. I've been a survivor my whole life. But it's not something I felt was my own, something I felt I deserved. I felt it was more a circumstance. There was several times that something bad should have really happened, and Providence, God, I know, stepped in, and what could have gone one way, went another. Too many close calls to count. I'm a survivor. And that means even though every day I wake up and I have to go pee a million times, every time I make a trip to the toilet, my body hurts so bad that my brain can't even function. And I usually take my pills the first time I go pee that I know the sun is up. And then I wake up a few hours later, my pills are kicked in, and I don't feel like life isn't worth it. But I feel that every day, multiple times a day. My body gives out one way or another, but every day I keep fighting. I'm going to survive as much as I possibly can. And that is now something that I can take ownership of. I can claim that flag. Because this is the choice that I make. This isn't just circumstance anymore. This is the power that we lose as victims. This is the power we lose that is taken from us, the ability to claim that we have anything strong within ourselves. The ability to claim that there's anything good inside of us. We can't accept that. So, as people calling me a survivor, it was not something I could claim. It was like something that was given to me, handed to me. But people who deal with things like PTSD and people who deal with things like depression, anxiety, guilt, emotional problems that nobody else can see, they are no different from the people who walk around who have lost their legs. And I'm talking about like people with prosthetics, or people who are in wheelchairs, or people who've lost an eye, or people who have an outer disability that is visible. The people with mental disabilities who are still up and still awake and still walking, talking, or whatever, still living, they are all survivors that should be deserving of that survivor flag. They shouldn't be considered as the afflicted or the castaways. We shouldn't talk about those people. Why? Because their scars are on the inside. That doesn't make them less deserving of them. They are survivors. Those who choose to get up every day, even though that every day they're going to be in excruciating pain that they can't even comprehend, let alone get true sympathy for. All they get is people rolling their eyes and think they're just playing and they're making it up. No, these people are survivors. They are the wounded, and we need to quit treating ourselves like we should have to hide the fact that we've made it out of depression. Or we shouldn't have to hide the fact that, yeah, yesterday was a really fucking bad day, but today, you know what? I feel a little bit better. That's a celebration. We shouldn't have to feel guilty that we didn't feel good. We should be able to truly enjoy the good moments without the guilt telling us that we aren't allowed to because we don't deserve it, because there's nothing good about us. And that's not true. We choose to wake up every single day. We choose to get out of bed. We choose to spend time with our families. We choose to hug our kids and love our kids. We choose to crack jokes. And that makes you a survivor if you're like me. Because I am a survivor, because even though I know that physically my pain is only going to get worse, and even though if I don't have an active degenerative disease like some people get, but I have so many diseases, and they all, because of all of them, each one isn't only this big, each one is this big. So I'm constantly, every day, I'm dealing with another issue, whether it be my bladder or my bowels, my feet or my hands, my head or my eyes, or whatever. Every day it's something new. But every day I choose to keep going. Every day I choose to give them one extra hug, give them one extra pat on the back. Every day I choose to give that smile and that giggle. Even though There's a lot of bad. I'm choosing to enjoy the good without the guilt because I deserve it, because I am a survivor. My scars are all on the inside for the most part. I have them on the outside, but most of them are on the inside from all the shit I've taken. I survived every time I got beat up. I survived every time I got called something. I survived every time that a voice in my head tells me to hurt myself and I tell it to fuck off. I survived those attacks. I survived going to 3B. I just survived being in the PEC ward a couple times because I was at the end of my rope begging for fucking help. And you know what? No one has ever actually helped me except me. And that's the truth. You know what really helped? One doctor gave me a med that actually helped my brain chemistry and has helped a lot of my nerve pain. That made a big difference. And he made it possible for the last couple of years for me to actually come to the root of a lot of my problems and be able to take the time to understand a lot of my physical problems and how my mental and physical are related and how they fight off of each other, and try to keep myself as healthy or maintaining moderate health level, let's say. But I'm doing it. I now need help, and I'm asking for help because I'm a survivor, and I'm not going to give up because I'm messing up and can't remember stuff. So I'm reaching out, and I'm asking people for help because that's what a survivor does. A survivor asks for help when they need it, and it's okay to ask for help when you need it. Sometimes you have to ask for help at the top of your lungs. Sometimes it's with a whisper. And not everybody's listening. I know that for a fact. But it's not weakness to ask for help. It's what a survivor does. A survivor isn't the one that refuses anybody's help so they can drag themselves over the finish line. The survivor is the one that gets to that finish line, whether limped, carried, pushed, or dragged, even if it's 3 years later. That's what the survivor does. The survivor doesn't quit. Even if you have to ask for help, it's okay. There's no guilt in that. There's none. You're a survivor. You're allowed to ask for help. That's what survivors do. They recognize they are in a situation that's dangerous or not good in some way. And they learn how to get out. If you get out by playing nice and doing things you don't want to do, that's fine. You survived it. You earned your flag. I promise. It's okay. Survivors need to stick together, and we need to not pull each other down. We need to lift each other up and say, you're not alone, because we're not. There are so many people out there who have no idea they're a survivor. And they need to know, because that's going to give them their strength, their ability to stand up for themselves, even in a tiny way, or even in a way to say, you know what? I deserve better. Everybody deserves to be loved, truly loved, and everybody deserves to have peace at least some point in their lives. And a survivor won't give up until they get it. A survivor finds a strength within themselves, that place where you used to always be afraid. And when they find that place where they're always afraid, but they don't close the door and they don't keep beating it down, the survivor learns to look for the light. Even if it's only a tiny star way out in the sky. A survivor can find that much hope. to keep going, to do the next day, and to do the next day, and to do the next day. If your hope is only as big as a star in the sky, when there's so many that are brighter and brighter, brighter, it doesn't matter. You hold on to that. You hold on to that and you don't let go. And you go the next day and the next day. And you can do it. And we can help each other. We can say survivors can be anybody. As long as you come out the other end and you don't give up. Even if you give up for 5 minutes, you're allowed to give up for 5 minutes, Things hit the road. Things get shitty. You're allowed to take that time. You can give up for like 2 days. You can stay in bed for 2 days. I'm trying to be reasonable here. You can stay and you can mourn and you can shut out the world for a moment. But you can't stay there. You let it have its moment. You can let the grief, the whatever, the pain hit you, and let it have its moment. And then when it's over and the emotions are done and you're drained and empty, that's when you find your hope. That's when you can start the journey up. That's when you choose, I can keep going. I can take another step. I can take another day. I can take 5 more minutes. I can take 10 more seconds of this. I'm going to keep counting to 10 over and over, because 10 seconds, I can do 10 seconds. I can do 10 seconds. And if it turns into an hour, you still take it 10 seconds at a time, whatever it is that you can deal with. And if you keep going and keep going, eventually you're going to get your full power back. And when you do, there's really no comparison. I just recently found mine, and I'll tell you, it kind of feels good. It's kind of like a righteous feeling, and I've never in my life felt righteous about myself about really anything. Not really. I've always believed the worst in myself and stuff like that. I may have pretended, but not really believed it. But now I can feel righteous about being a survivor, if that fits. Like, I can be proud of it. I can stand up for myself. And yeah, I'm still fucking scared. I'm scared as hell. But what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to say no. They're going to say, don't want to hear it. Okay, well, you're still going to hear it. I'm still going to say it. You don't like it? You can get up and leave. That's the point. Because even though I'm scared, I can still do it. The fear, the power in me is now bigger than the fear, whereas before the fear was bigger. And now it's shifted because I had to learn that I'm a survivor and that I had a power in me, and that's why people tore me down so much. And once I realized that I did have a power, it helped me understand that once I realized I had power to begin with, then I got it back in a way, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. I didn't realize I ever had power before. I always saw myself as the bottom of the tadpole, the bottom of the list in every way, really. Once I realized I did have a power, even if I didn't realize it, I saw things a little bit different. I saw them tearing me down instead of just beating me up for no reason. And once I realized they were tearing me down, I realized I had something that was worth tearing down. And then it was like, there's this me, and I'm like an accordion, right? With a bunch of holes. And this is all I ever saw in myself. Me with all these holes, this scrunched up accordion. But then I realized before that, I was actually a building, like a whole person. And all those holes were actually like windows. And people were tearing them down. So it just kind of collapsed. And when I realized that, I started thinking about stuff. And as I rethought multiple situations throughout my life, that it stretched out again. And now those holes are being filled in with stained glass because, yeah, the glass has been broken, but look what could come from broken glass. Look what beauty can be imagined to replace what was dull before. So that's what I've been doing. I've been building my building back up and replacing it with stained glass windows, in a way. And I'm going to wave my survivor flag at the top for everybody to see. And they're going to see what beauty could happen to erase the ugly. Because I'm not ugly anymore. Not like I felt I was, I guess I should say. Yeah, I know I'm not pretty. That, really, I'm not. I'm not. Yeah, you know what I mean. I'm old. Well, I just wanted to say that if you are at the point to where you make a choice every day and you could easily make the wrong choice, because the wrong choice is actually an option for you for whatever reason, and that means to end your suffering. That's the kind of choice I'm talking about. However it may be, by boozing or shooting up or whatever the case may be. Every day that you choose to keep going, and I'm talking not about somebody just shooting up, and I'm talking about people ODing. I'm talking about ending their lives in a way, I guess. Suicide. Anybody who has that shadow hanging over them and every day chooses not to do it. Every time it flashes in their eyes to do something with a knife or a fork because they see it in the kitchen. Every time they get a flash of their body laying on the ground bloody, what they're supposed to do to them, every time they get the urge to do these things. And regardless of how overwhelming it is, every time you choose not to do that, you survive. You're a survivor. Every time you choose not to give up, you earn a survivor flag. So keep doing it. Keep surviving. Keep fighting. There's a point. There is. Not to give up. Because things can get better. And I tell you, I cried myself to sleep every day for like the last year. In the last couple of weeks, I haven't really. Today was probably the most bittersweet day of all, but once you do enough surviving, if you survive long enough, you'll get a chance to plant a seed. That seed of hope. That there might be something better, something deeper, something more. And eventually that hope can grow into a whole possibility you never imagined. I've dreamt about moving home since I left it, pretty much. And I'm now going to go back home. I'm no longer the person that I feel like I was cheated, that I didn't get to stay where I wanted. And now I'm trying to look at it like all of these experiences I've had that I never would have had if I'd stayed. And who knows what my future could have been if I'd stayed and stuff like that. So I've been trying to change my perspective, because our perspective on our memories can alter our present feelings. It's all about our perspective. You can have the same memory that always made you feel one way, and then all of a sudden your perspective changed. Somebody tells you something that you didn't previously know, or you remember something that caused that thing to happen, and then you see it completely different now, and that can actually change who you are and who you're going to become and who you're becoming. It's retroactive. So work on changing your perspectives. I've changed my perspectives on a lot of things, and it's helped me get my power back. And you can too. Go back on your memories and the ones that are troubling you. Give them the time they need and try to change your perspective on it. It's really self-healing. I hope that it helps. We all deserve a survivor flag, whether we survive big things, little things. But each day we choose not to give up is a day of surviving. I now smoke marijuana. And I'm doing that as a survivor. I finally got to the point where my life had no good left in it. The pain was overcompensating and overwhelming. And the stress and the being sick all the time just made it to where I was constantly very ill. And the marijuana's helped me moderate that. And now I don't get the shingles infections, and I can now mostly maintain a moderate form of health without getting really sick. It used to be really, really bad, constantly. But because I took that time to figure things out, I've been able to learn and how to control it. I now have fans everywhere I go. See, there's a fan outside. I have 2 fans in my bedroom, and I have 2 portable fans as well. I take fans everywhere I go because I know if I can keep my core heat down, it helps me. That's a survival technique. So every little thing that you learn that helps you every day, that makes the day a little bit better, that helps you learn, that's survival. That's not giving up. That's not, I might be dependent on the fans, but they're helping me survive. So I don't have to feel guilty about having them because they make my life better. And that's what marijuana did, unfortunately. I hate that it did. I really, really do. Like, you have no idea how much I hate that it worked. But I tried everything else, and nothing else worked. So even if you have to do something you never thought you would to survive, I'm not telling you to hurt anybody. Please, dear God, never hurt anybody. But what you have to do to survive, if that's what you have to do to take it one day, that's what you have to do. But eventually, you're going to get to a point, if you survive long enough, you're going to get a chance to thrive. And I've been doing that. It's starting to happen. It really fucking is. And the journey hasn't even begun yet. Ah, gosh, it's crazy. But there's a chance. Don't forget. Wave your flag. Wave it high and proud as can be, because you're a survivor. Because you choose to survive.